Hello, Michael Talbot Kelly back here with you to tell you a little bit more about, okay, so how does it actually work? How do we build a society? How do we society build or village make one that has everyone on their gifts? Well, we believe that as we get dialed into our meaning and prosperity, what that means for us, what that actually looks like for us, and it might be for us in the different sections. There might be 3 different sections of that meaning and prosperity. The first part might be for self, and then for others, and then also then for our work. What does the meaning and prosperity actually look in these 3 areas of our life? And those 3 areas of our life are just the foundational marriages that we have, and these then get aimed towards a meaningful need, right? So we can create a vision for our life by outlining how it is that what does meaning and prosperity look like for us. We create a vision of what that looks like. Meaning and prosperity for ourselves looks like this. I want to have certain vitality. I want to be at the gym. I want to be outside. I want to have joy. I want to have with others, I want to have connection and presence, and I want to have love. I want to be able to love unafraid. And with work, I want to be on my purpose. I want to be on my gift. I want to be on my gift in all these areas. I want to feel so good by the time I come home from work. I'm just feeling abundant. I'm feeling naturally prosperous. Why? Because it's aimed at a meaningful need. Does that make sense? So Patty, let me tell you a story. Patty came to me as a result of being talked into it, actually. And he was up at the local psych ward, and he has many different diagnoses with many different medications that he was on. And he didn't want to come. He was very reluctant because he had seen so many other people in town to no avail. And he came in and he sat down, and before I had a chance to say a word, he said, "I guess you want to talk about the problem." And I said, well, sure, we could talk about the problem, but can I ask you a question? I said, has it been helpful talking about the problem? And he said, well, what kind of a question is that? They said you were a little bit weird or you looked at things differently. And I said, humor me. Has it been helpful talking about the problem? You've been living in a psych ward for a long time now, many years. You go home on a weekend to be able to have one night with your mom and dad. You're on all these medications. You're going. You basically, your life is pretty static, and you're living inside of a psych ward. So perhaps we should do something different and think about this problem differently. And he said, well, actually, the truth is, it's not been helpful talking about the problem. So I said, well, how about we don't talk about the problem? So for 6 months, we didn't talk about the problem. He said to me, well, what are we going to talk about then? And I said, well, what is it that you're really interested in? What is it that you feel that you have a gift for? What is it that you really feel dialed in with and aligned with in your own nature? And he goes, well, that's easy. It's the history of architecture. So 6 months went by, I was talking about the history of architecture. And he said to me, he says, oh my God, what if people find out? I've been coming here every week for an hour. We haven't talked about the problem at all. And my insurance is paying for your work. And we shouldn't be talking about the problem. And I said, look, we can talk about the problem all you like. But let's look at it. You're no longer living in the psych ward. You're living in your parents' basement. You go to a couple of groups each week, at the psych ward. You're doing your master's in the history of architecture. You're already TAing and making money. You're starting to date again. You're going to the gym. You're starting to play hockey again, which are all good signs. And you're actually making money. But I tell you what, if you want to talk about the problem, we could talk about the problem. He said, nah, I don't want to talk about the problem. Well, 2 years later, he's doing his PhD, he's engaged to be married, his wife is pregnant, he's got all sorts of Ivy League scholarships now to all sorts of wonderful universities that want him because he's already published a whole bunch of papers on this. He's obviously got a natural gift for it. So what happened? He created not his own meaning and prosperity. It kind of wove out of him getting really clear about what he was aimed towards. So that's meaning and prosperity. A vision of meaning and prosperity with self, other, and work. And he started with self, didn't he? And then the relationships changed and the work, but he was aimed towards something. He had a natural gift. He had his natural gift, he had essential qualities, he dialed into his own true nature, and he worked with his personality resistances a little bit. We certainly challenged some of the problem. And then he was aimed towards a meaningful need, which was the history of architecture. The next video I'm going to talk about, well, what do we mean by true nature? Because we're breaking it down, right? We want a society where everybody's on their gift, so we have to then get clear about our vision. People get lost, disconnected, living lives of meaningless desperation if they don't get dialed into what they're naturally aimed for and towards a meaningful need. Then we have to then break it down a little bit further of how it is that you at home now can start tapping into your true nature. And then next video after that will be essential qualities, natural gifts, and et cetera, et cetera. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on the other side in the next video. Bye for now.